Yeah.
You can't just take like the geometry of something like, say, Super Mario 64 and remaster it like that. It doesn't look good. You have to redo all of the polygons and sometimes some of the level design. And what are you laughing at?
I just thought of an HD remake of Mario 64 and they would just call it Mario 1080p.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Mario 1080. Oh.
Yeah.
You, sir, just landed yourself in the opening for this episode. Hello, my beautiful black eagles, blue lions, and golden deer. Thank you for joining us on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 40. It's a big one.
What? Big 40.
You can't join in until I introduce you and introduce myself. Allow myself to introduce myself. I am your host, Oni Dino. With me, I have the only member of the secret fourth house at the Academy. He is the leader of the Rusty Squirrels. It's Galen. you got nothing.
Rusty Squirrels just sounds like a really bad sex position. Like, it sounds dirty.
Terrible. So I just had a bowl of cereal like 15 minutes ago, so it's going to be blast off time in like 10 minutes.
Awesome.
Galen and I are currently doing a little bit of face cam talking right now. This is the first time ever. We were inspired by our lovely interactions that we had when we were face to face, and we thought that it added a nice dynamic when we were yelling at each other on the show. So we're going to be trying to do this through the virtual world, yelling at each other as well. Also, there's a ton of junk happening right outside my place, so I super apologize for the noise. It's just inevitable right now. There's dogs.
I've heard dogs, I've heard woodworking equipment, and I've heard airplanes. So nice trifecta there.
It's not even airplanes. It's just the engines only, and they're right outside, and they're like trying them out or something. It's not actually what's happening. So I just want to tease to our lovely listeners that we have some very cool stuff planned in the near future. So do stay tuned on the Nintendo Everything Podcast.
It is one of those things that we're planning a soundproof studio.
God, I wish. Send us money so we can do that. I would love to do that. I don't have the money for that. Jesus, making nothing. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about Marvel. We're going to be talking about Fire Emblem, Dragon Quest Hero in Smash, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and some more news.
Nice. Some news about s'mores.
We have to move on from whatever you just said. Let's talk about our adventure log, see what we've been playing this week, huh?
You were saying that there's some new s'mores
No.
news. Oh, the fact that I can see the disappointment in your face is hilarious now. I love it. I love this.
I don't know, that makes you like a proud masochist. So this week, I wanted to start things off by talking about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, because that just came out just about a week and a half ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have been playing quite a bit of that with my husband Cliff. You can watch me playing that on our YouTube channel, Gayme Married. That's Gayme, Gayme Married.
It's like saying, I've lost.
There we go. No, shut up. We have to keep going. We only got so much time. I've been having a great time with a few caveats with this game. Galen, you still haven't picked up the game yet, have you?
I have not, no, but I have been thoroughly enjoying your guys' episodes.
Yeah?
Yeah, especially entertained by your husband's interpretation of the different Marvel properties.
What do you mean?
Maybe not interpretations, but like the commentary and stuff like that on it.
Okay.
I really like that part.
Okay. Yeah, he is.
With your part, you're just talking about Star-Lord's ass the entire time, so.
Just a little, just a bit. My husband, Cliff, he is super knowledgeable about the comics. He's like just a super crazy fast reader, so he's been like just boning up on all the comics, in preparation especially for us playing that game. It's still rough, we just started doing this. We're still figuring things out. But, what's really rough and is not figuring things out? The camera in local co-op.
Freaking camera angles.
Yeah, you've seen that, right?
Yeah. That looks so bad.
Yeah, they're just shaky everywhere, and then it's like, oh, I'm trying to go over here. The camera isn't, though. The camera's just trying to chill back there like it's taking a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the team select menu is annoying and unintuitive when you're playing with several people in local co-op. You have to like press A to choose your character when you're on that slot, but then when those slots are highlighted, you can change other people's characters that are playable characters, but you can't change that character if the other human is on that cursor, so it feels weird until you finally understand what the hell's even going on. And then you also have to press B, as in like cancel, to press OK and confirm your character. And then you have to wait until everybody else does it, so then you end up doing like the equivalent of like directing traffic with your friends who are sitting on the couch with you to get out and into that stupid menu. And it's particularly difficult, compounded when you've all been drinking. So you can catch all of those foibles starting in like part 5 of our Marvel Ultimate playthrough.
That's where the drinking begins.
Oh yeah, that's when the drinking really begins. I had a friend over who was just like visiting the area for a couple of days, and in that time we ended up playing Marvel all together as the 3 of us and just screaming at each other, so it gets real crazy from there. And then we also recorded a Dark Phoenix commentary track.
Like the movie Dark Phoenix?
Yeah, the movie Dark Phoenix.
Okay. I'm always up for a diss track.
I don't even know where I'm going to upload that or what I'm going to do with that, but there was no way I was going to watch that god-awful movie except for if it was drunk and with that particular friend. So there was no more perfect time than that to do that. And
nice.
That movie was bad. The movie was really bad.
I have yet to seen it yet.
You have yet to seen it yet?
I have yet to see it.
Uh-huh. Interesting English choices.
Yes,
I wish
very interesting English choices.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't screwed up my own English when I said that. Pot calling the kettle black, dogs and cats living together. It's madness.
Mass hysteria.
Yeah. So that's only the bad stuff that I've been having with that game, though it is pretty annoying. It hasn't been prohibitive. You meet tons of characters in this game, more than ever before, and not just the playable characters. You also meet tons of support characters. Antagonists, too, is just a really big celebration of Marvel characters, and I'm very happy with that.
It does look like there are not only a lot of characters, but a lot of personality in the characters. Like, the quips that everybody is throwing out seems pretty entertaining and pretty faithful to the source content.
Yeah, it's not just like Joss Whedon quippy. It's appropriate for each character in how they talk. So, of course, Spider-Man is quippy, right? And also it's Yuri Lowenthal too, doing his voice, so that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to say about this is I'm trying to compare it to the first 2 Ultimate Alliance games, even though they're not really related or anything. But I feel like those games, I haven't played those in over 10 years, but I feel like those had a stronger story that was woven into combat a whole lot more. For this game, the story is just kind of this is why you're going from point A to point B. And instead of it being an overarching narrative so much, there's a very thin plot, and it's just get the Infinity Gems. It's more oh, now this character is here, and they're taking you to point B and moving on from that, which I'm fine with because I remember when I was playing the first 2 games with friends, it interrupted the multiplayer part of that game. And I would rather have a narrative-driven game that's a single-player game, like the Spider-Man on PS4. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I want that, but with X-Men.
Well, and if you think about it, if I'm remembering my dates correctly, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
And I will. You know I will.
I know you will. The original Ultimate Alliance games, they came out really before the MCU became a thing, or was like really early on.
Yeah. If anything, it came out like around the time that first Iron Man movie came out, but even then, it wasn't like, okay, there is going to be an MCU.
Yeah. And you could really tell that they were really focusing on the MCU movies when they were making this game. I mean, you can also see it in the promotional thing, and I think you and I have talked about this before. I still remember that trailer when they were like, and now you can play as Captain Marvel! And this was like a week or two before the Captain Marvel movie actually came out. And it's like the only reason that you're singling this character out is because of the movie tie-in to go with it. So.
Yeah. When I'm playing the game, though, I don't get an MCU feeling from it at all, which I'm really glad, because if it was, it would have just kind of been yet another extension of the MCU, and I would have been probably done with it by now.
No, I agree. But you can definitely agree that the influence of those movies are definitely in there.
Yeah, totally. It wouldn't be the Thanos storyline arc. The Black Order wouldn't be in there. It's just a thin plot, and that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Speaking of thin plots, why don't you tell me a little bit about a game called Destiny 2?
You joke. Destiny has an amazing storyline.
No, it doesn't. It's light versus
too.
dark.
Okay, correction. Destiny had... So, for those of you playing the home game, I've been playing Destiny 2 on the PS4. I don't know why I decided to jump back into it and just give it a try, see what's been changed, because I haven't played it since, like, Christmas. And I remember that because the last ship that I had equipped was the promotional Christmas ship that you had.
You gotta get your weekly bonuses for your Shlooter.
Just shoot and loot. Just shoot and loot all day.
It's called shlooting.
Shlooting? Is that the actual term for it?
It is now.
Okay.
I heard that from somebody else. Go on, tell me about how wonderful the light and dark story is.
No, what I've been really getting involved in is the lore and the other bits and story that they have in there. You have the entire story of the woman who lost her partner and decided to face the dark armies of the moon just in order to avenge her. And you also have the tale of the three gunslingers, the two legendary ones and the apprentice who need to avenge his master. And each of these story bits you discover as you're discovering pieces of armor and achieving different things within the game. And it becomes an actual quest just to pick up on the lore and find all these story bits that are in the game. I can't remember if I said this on an additional DLC or not, but there is someone out there named My Name is Byleth who does an absolutely phenomenal job recapping all of the major story threads and all of the hidden story threads, so you don't have to trudge through the entire game and try to piece together what's going on your own. And he does these amazing narrative stories and retellings of everything.
Like he does like YouTube videos or something where he like retells the story in like a dramatic sense or something.
Yeah, he puts the stories together, and sometimes it's just straight up, hey, we found out about this new bit of lore because it just came out with the latest expansion. Let's talk about what this actually means to everything. Why are there a bunch of, evil demigod things on the moon? Like, it's fascinating when you kind of like look past everything and look at what the stories are actually trying to tell you. So,
yeah, I'm always so critical though of that sort of piecemeal lore thing, because I feel like so many people are trying to emulate what the Dark Souls series does.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just a bit negative.
I would agree your skepticism on that. Especially because anything that has been popularized by Dark Souls is immediately like, okay, are they just doing this because of a trend, or are they doing something because there's an artistic merit to the type of story that they're telling? I've always judged things like that based on the quality of the stories that they have there. And I honestly, I think it's worth investing into.
So how are you feeling now that you have jumped back into this game 8 months later?
I actually don't feel that far behind. I didn't play it for that long. I only played it for a couple of hours in the morning. And there's so much to do. Holy crap. Not like, as soon as I logged back in, it gave me all of these different quests that I had missed out on up until that point. I immediately started to gain levels and get back up to like the high enough level that you can actually be doing things in with your party. Like, Destiny has become very good about introducing new players in and making sure that everybody is on the same playing level so you're not left behind, while at the same time rewarding those players who've been playing since the very beginning.
And in what way do they do that?
Well, part of the way that they reward those older players are the bits with the lore, for example. They also have an infusing system where you can, as you get higher weapons or, higher leveled weapons and armor, you can actually break those down and infuse them into your favorite pieces of armor. So that stuff that you've been having since, the beginning of Destiny 2, you can still be using that and you can still be rocking around with, I've got this knight armor set that they had at the very first thing that you can't get anymore because they stopped doing that particular event. And I'm
that's
running
the
around.
FOMO nonsense of Shlooters.
Well, to an extent, yeah. But, I mean...
What else could it be?
I mean, it makes your character feel a bit special. And I guess that is kind of like the thing with most MMORPGs that are out there. Like, people have been playing World of Warcraft, and they have this armor that they've had since, I don't know, Burning Crusade. That's one of the expansions. I honestly don't play that game. So, but I can understand that sense of just somebody saying, oh, hey, that stuff is cool. Where can I get it? And you just kind of go, you can't anymore.
But that's the social pressure of encouraging people to like purchase loot boxes and spend microtransactions because of FOMO in your Shlooter. FOMO in your Shlooter. But no, seriously, that is what that is. And I can't, like, even if it is a good game or something like that, I can't get past things like that because it is so insidious and so disgusting in terms of exploiting consumers. You're not selling like a video game, you're selling a means to just pull in the cash.
The only time that I have ever had that, sense of microtransactions or anything like that in the game has been from their emotes that they have. And, making your characters have a particular dance or something like that. But, like, the shaders...
Wait, they have dances in Destiny as well?
Frick yeah.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Why is it dumb?
Because
they've had that since the beginning, since the first game.
Because Fortnite dances are dumb, and that's all I can think of is like 6-year-olds running around being like, we like Fortnite, and then they do the dumb dances, and that's exactly what...
To be fair, Destiny was doing it before it was cool.
It was never cool, and probably not also. Fortnite's been around a long time before it even got popular.
I like my emotes on my character a little bit
also,
too much. But.
what about like the dumb stuff that they did with like the annual pass? They sell an annual pass too that like the stuff goes away.
No.
So
not in Destiny, no.
They sell like an annual pass where like you'd have access to one of the 3 for like a month. That's what I've heard.
No. That's not it at all. So they do different seasons where they are focusing on a particular aspect. Like the first one that they had was called the Black Armory, where you have these different sections around the different maps that you could go to, and you would do a cooperative event to try to get good weapons from that. And then after that period of time is gone, they went on to the season of the Drifter, which is the next one, which is all focusing about this rogue bandit-esque character who is trying to combat the same enemy that you're combating, but using dark magic more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's focusing on a completely different gameplay style. But that stuff from the first, like, the Black Armory section, that's still there. You could still do that. So that stuff is still all there. It's just it's not focusing on it, and it's not the premier activity that everybody wants to do at the time. But you can still do it.
So, like, you can't put, like, your year 1 or year 2 things, though, into your, like, collections?
No, you can.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that doesn't transfer over is the stuff from the very first Destiny game over to the second. When they moved over to the second, it was a hard stop, and they were like, hey, you guys are all starting over from scratch. And they actually worked that in narratively by saying, hey, your stuff basically all gets blown up at the beginning of the game.
Well, they should have, because there was barely a narrative in the first one as well.
With that said, the only thing that they do kind of like time restrict you on are the emotes that you have there. And this is where the only bit of the microtransactions of the game come into play. So as you go on and after you hit whatever the max level is like level 20, level 30, whatever, every time you basically get a level, you get an engram. And that engram you can go ahead and cash in, and it gives you, it's like a loot box in a sense. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and pay the microtransaction of silver and cash in that silver to just buy some of those right off the thing. But the only thing that comes in those are cosmetic items and also ships and armor and stuff like that, but also dances. And then once you're done and they go over to the next season, it's a different set of stuff that you can unlock, while they have some like legacy stuff that you can get engrams that way if you want to.
And then that's where they exploit you, because it's like limited time dances and limited time armor and junk.
You keep using this word exploit. It's
not exploitative?
I don't think it doesn't feel that way. Like, there are some games that absolutely abuse the system. I'm just saying.
Are you seriously sitting with me right here on this podcast defending microtransactions?
No, I am not. I am defending how Destiny has evolved as a game. I will admit there was a time where it was kind of like that, but they realized their stuff pretty quick, and they actually broke away from that and changed it. Give me that face all you want. I stick by my statement.
Oh, I'm so fighting you right now on this. I don't play Destiny 2 because I have a hard stance on those kinds of things, exploitative tactics in video gaming and microtransactions. So I don't know enough about it to like fight with you with tooth and nail on this. But if it has microtransactions and based off of the things that you're telling me on it, I'm just like, oh, this thing is gross.
You know what?
Published by Activision too. I mean, not anymore, but now it
not
was
anymore.
Published, yeah, published by Activision.
The Activision days were very dark days.
So what has changed since Activision dropped publishing rights for it? Now it's Bungie self-publishing.
What has changed from it? A lot of how they are promoting the progress and promoting that level of making your character feel unique and special without needing to deal with those microtransactions. See, I can see the face that you're making right now.
It's because what you're
instead
saying
of just
is
hearing
like,
it
feels like you're putting words in your mouth to like buy yourself time for not making sense. What are you talking about?
Tell you what, I would challenge you that you, I, and Cliff play this game.
No!
I will get you guys through the story.
No!
And then we can have this argument.
That'd be the worst part of it, the story. No, I am not doing that. You know how many freaking games I gotta play? I don't have time for Destiny.
Destiny is fun.
I'm glad you're having a good time with it.
Thank you. At least my camera angles work.
Doesn't make any freaking sense. Doesn't make any sense. So now let's talk a bit about Fire Emblem Three Houses. I've been playing this a bit this week. Galen, you have not purchased this game. Are you not going to dive into a house?
So I wanted to play this game very badly.
Okay.
I am still a little bit hesitant as to whether or not I'm going to enjoy this game enough to give $60 to it. So my plan was to rent it from that Hollywood or that Family Video down the street from me.
Right.
Turns out that of the 4 stores that are near me, only 2 of them got a copy, and both of them rented out their copy by the time I got back from my mini vacation last weekend.
I see.
I was like, okay, maybe I can just wait. The games are supposed to be due back on Wednesday. I'll go and I'll call them up and I'll rent a copy. And literally, after I called the one store, they were like, yeah, I just sold that game to another person and it'll be gone for another 5 days. I'm like, son of a...
Yeah, that's exactly the awful parts of renting video games, especially now when like barely anybody is renting anything. So just buy the game.
I mean, heartbroken. Heart actually broken.
That's a shame. I will say that I have been having... Put the finger away. I have been having a fantastic time with this game, and I can't believe it, because I liked the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem. What was that, like the 6th or 7th game in the whole series? And then I played some of the old Fire Emblems on Super Nintendo many moons ago.
The first one that came out for the States?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
I forgot what it's actually called, because when it came out in the West, it only was just called Fire Emblem. But it's called either the Blazing Blade or the Binding Blade. I don't remember which one.
Okay.
So, I enjoyed those older ones, but the more modern ones like Awakening and Fates, they'd never latched their hooks into me. This game, when I got it and then I started up, the opening cinematic starts out super strong in that game. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, and I even thought about like, well, maybe I should just talk about it because the openings, but no. I want people to see that because it sets the damn tone. It's good.
Okay.
Before I get into all of the good things, I would like to talk a bit about some of the negatives, because it's a shorter list than the good things, because I have so many glowing things to say.
Okay.
These first negative things that I'm going to talk about were my first impressions, which was a little bit bad. So I could see if somebody is playing this for only one chapter and they're like, this isn't for me, and then they put it away. I highly recommend anybody to keep playing until chapter 3, which actually isn't as far into the game as it sounds like it is, and then see if the game is for you by then. By then you will know.
Yeah, I remember seeing a tweet that you sent out on like, how do I do chapter 3? There's so much so much teaching and so many menus to go through, or something like that. It was a tweet that you posted out.
That was somebody else. I didn't write a tweet like that. I wrote a tweet, but it wasn't like, how do I do it? There's too many menus.
Maybe that was somebody else.
Yes.
I could have
somebody weaker. Somebody weaker and less adept. So, I wish that there was more physical acting in scenes. There was like a moment where my teacher, who is my character, was talking to Claude, who is the house that I chose. What up, Golden Deer? Fear the deer. Claude was introducing me to the Golden Deer, who are filled with nobles and commoners, and studious kids and slackers too. That's what he said. So, for example, it would have been great if... What? Just read the tweet. You can't put a phone in my face. I told you can't do visual gags on this. If what does it say?
So I just found the tweet. It says, made it to chapter 3 in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and yep, I'm stuck in now. So you used the word stuck, and that's what made me think of it.
Oh my goodness, you are so awful. Stuck in means that you are just you're into it.
All right.
I'm not stuck like what do I do? Video games are difficult.
I'm pretty sure I've seen you in real life say those exact words.
No. Maybe when I'm playing a Shlooter. Anyway.
I'm gonna get you to play Destiny one of these days.
No, I already played it and I don't like it. I don't like FPS games, especially competitive FPS games. That's like the genre that I dislike the most. It's just not for me.
That's not the genre it is.
What is it then? What is it? We're stopping the Golden Deer record right now, and you tell me right now what kind of Shlooter genre this first-person competitive shooter is.
It is a multiplayer, cooperative, online role-playing game with guns.
No! No! It is a Shlooter that is online, competitive. It has RPG elements in it because it's a freaking game made after 2008, okay? Everything has online RPG elements in it, especially if there are microtransactions and exploitative practices. Because then you can make numbers grow big, and then you have to buy your little items and your little things to make sure that items grow or your numbers grow big. That way there's a constant sense of progression.
I think I'm going to call you Judy for the rest of the podcast because you are just passing out all the judgment right now.
Listen, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Destiny is a Shlooter. I love Judge Judy so much. You don't even know what kind of compliment that is. Thank you. Oh, she's great. Speaking of great, Mr. Claude from The Golden Deer. So when he was saying that and he was introducing the commoners, nobles, studious kids, that kind of thing, it would have been great if he had just like nudged or tilted his head toward Hilda, because when he was talking about slackers, clearly he was referencing Hilda because she's kind of known as the one who's like, oh, I'm a rich girl, like I'm not useful in battle, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it would have been cool if there was like some physical acting to that, but instead it's just kind of like, oh, they fold their hands together, or like they put their hand to their chin to show that they're thinking. Just, it would have been
very
cooler.
Very like tropish kind of like anime poses and things like that.
Yeah, standard stuff.
Okay. Yeah, because I was a little confused on what you meant by physical acting at first, but no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I'm sure you were very confused because we had an argument about Destiny again.
You brought it up. I'm just saying.
You're defending predatory practices. I'm gonna sick Jimquisition on you. That's what I'm gonna do. Jim Sterling.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Not a fan of his stuff.
I'm a fan of his rhetoric that he puts out. I like the battles that he fights. I think that he is annoying, but I like what he is doing a lot. And I watch a lot of his videos because I agree with a lot that he's saying.
I will admit the man does know how to put together an argument.
Yeah, and then repeat that argument like every single time in the videos. Yes, but he also
while using the word. The F word in between every sentence that he
Yes.
Yeah.
He shits on the video games that you like to play, though, so I can see how that's like sort of, a rough thing. Like he does talk about games like Destiny, and he does talk about it's not important. Fire Emblem, that's what's important. We're 40 minutes in. So some of my other problems that I have with the game is the extremely small fonts in that game. Whether it's handheld mode or docked mode, it is too tiny. The fonts need to be updated in a future update and to be increased. It absolutely needs it.
I feel like that's an easy enough correction to make. It does sound very surprising. I would not have, just hearing you talk about the game, I would not have guessed that was one of the objecting points of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Koei Tecmo did all of the coding for the game and like the base level development, so that could have been on their side for this, because a lot of Nintendo published games I feel like have been really good about accessibility options, or at least for making things like a decent font size. So I'm going to be super vocal about how we need a larger font. I think I even saw like a Kotaku article about it recently, and sort of on that note with Koei Tecmo, it does look like a Koei Tecmo game. Yeah. The frame rate is kind of all over the place. That's an overstatement. The frame rate is not steady.
They've never been able to get that down.
Yeah. I wonder, and I'm really curious about like what engine they use, because it's definitely a proprietary one, but I wonder if it is the same engine that they have used for so many different games, and especially like their Warriors games or something, because I see a lot of like visual similarities and like programming similarities in a lot of those games. So I wonder if it's just like a poorly optimized engine, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, sometimes it can be pretty good. Like, look at Fire Emblem Warriors in the performance mode. That was pretty decent. Hyrule Warriors, that one's pretty decent. But, yeah, not stable for sure. I think there's fewer drops in handheld mode, which is how I'm primarily playing it, but I'm not sure. So another way, though, that I'm talking about Koei Tecmo, it looks like a Koei Tecmo game, is that the textures are really great. Very, very pretty when you look at like the groundwork and the stones, everything like that. But the geometry is like super rudimentary. We're talking like PS2 kind of game.
Really?
In terms of geometry, yeah. Because they have like big, beautiful cathedrals and European, like almost like Spanish kind of architecture on a lot of it. But it's just like a very straight rectangle in terms of geometry. Just rectangles on top of rectangles, you know?
Okay.
It just doesn't look super impressive or anything like that.
That's a little disappointing, actually.
Yeah, I think so too, but that said, I don't really find a lot of the Fire Emblem games to be particularly pretty, in my opinion. I think that Awakening and Fates, which I both played, were both kind of underwhelming. Like, it was just a lot of fields and mountains and then caves, you know what I mean? Nothing exciting there. So this is kind of in the same vein with those games, but it's kind of a bummer that, you know, with the new iteration, they didn't just make it a little more exciting looking.
Yeah.
Even Fire Emblem Warriors was kind of dreary. I do recall when I started playing and then I stepped out of the monastery and I looked up at the sky because it's bright blue and that's like the first big old burst of color you get. I looked up at the sky to see the worst cloud texture I've seen in a major game release this generation. I took a screenshot of it and I was like, come on, guys.
That bad?
It just pixels. It was so bad. Definitely looks like a Koei Tecmo game with the jank. I love Koei Tecmo games, don't get me wrong. They're one of my favorite third-party publishers. They really are. The design is hit or miss on a lot of things, but the art design is there, so it does have its own voice, but it's just not particularly exciting. And another thing that I thought was a negative for me was that your main character, Byleth, he or she doesn't talk for... What?
I was gonna say, your main character, Byleth, who is beating up all of their partners. Did you not hear about this?
Oh, that guy. Oh, no.
Yeah.
He. Okay. Oh, Jesus.
I'm surprised you didn't like add this in there.
Well, I mean, it's whatever. So, okay, well, let's talk about this for a second. The voice actor for the English version of Fire Emblem that voiced male Byleth, he recently was found out and then he admitted to years of emotional and mental abuse. So it wasn't physical abuse that we know of, I guess. I didn't super look into it. I was just like, what? And I read a little bit about it. But he admitted to it on Tumblr after being called out by one of his exes. And then he admitted to, in his personal and his professional life, manipulating a whole bunch of people and abusing them. Whether it was coincidence or not, Nintendo is having all of his lines recast, which he doesn't actually speak that much, actually. They're having all of the lines recast by another voice actor. They've already recast the Fire Emblem Heroes version of male Byleth. And it should also be noted that this voice actor, I forgot his name, he also broke the NDA, allegedly. NDA means non-disclosure agreement, on when you can reveal certain information. So I think he revealed that he was voicing this character too early. And Nintendo, I mean, the gaming industry in general is super clamped down. Nintendo is probably the most clamped down out of all of them. So if you break any little thing, it is a huge deal, like firing or whatever.
Absolutely.
So it could be that, and this admission of guilt could be just a big coincidence, but it is kind of like it is kind of a thing.
Yeah. No, I was just surprised to see the other day that they were changing his voice and getting somebody else, and there was going to be a big update to like replace all of that. And I was like, the game just came out. Like, I'm really surprised by this.
Yeah, like just came out, right? This week.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but I mean, it's whatever, because going back to what I was saying with Byleth not talking much, I thought that was going to be like a negative for me. I was initially disappointed because compared to like Corin or Robin from Fates and Awakening, respectively, they were both their own characters. They weren't so much an avatar.
Yeah.
I much prefer that in an RPG that's just like my personal taste. I'd rather have an actual character that I'm playing as rather than a blank state. I can relate to them. It's totally fine. Doesn't have to be me. However, I completely came around by chapter 3, which is, where I'm at right now. And that rolls into me talking about the story and stuff because it's so compelling. So the world, they're establishing that there is a story happening in the world outside of you, but it feels like your real story is the one that you're controlling in this microcosm of the academy. And that lends itself so well to good character building and investing yourself in the story. It gives you, as the player, an amazing drive to continue the story because you're truly invested in your students' growth. And I can't believe they haven't done something like this before with life sims in Fire Emblem because it's such a perfect fit.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like they've been slowly edging more and more into making this more about the personality of your characters more than the battle system or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's a little bit less waifu-y and husbando-y than the last two entries, which I think is welcome. I enjoy that I don't know if I enjoy, but I appreciate that they have those elements in there. But I did feel like with Fates, it was very much a dating sim kind of feel to it. I don't know. That was just my impression.
And with Awakening, you had the whole time travel aspect of it. The characters that you hook up in the present, their future offspring get to come back from the future to help fight alongside you, and then you've got connections that go on there. Time travel is weird.
Yeah. So, it made sense. They played it in there fine. But with this one, there is a time skip in it too, later on in the game. But they don't have any kind of super relationship, marriage, childbearing kind of thing. Which is, I think, dialing that back just a skosh is nice. The characters, for the character writing, while tropey, they are each distinct characters in the different houses. And I feel like I know a lot about them and their personality quirks in such a short time. There's this one girl, Annette, in particular, that I think of. She's from the Black Eagles, and she just moved here from a magician school somewhere else, and she's having a tough time fitting in. And then there's this boy named Lindhart, and he hates combat. He doesn't want to kill. He just wants to, live his life happy doing what he wants to do. He wants to be doing a passion. And characters will often say things that are indicative of their personalities during battles and before battles, which is an excellent platform for character development too. It's great. I think this is the strongest that it's been. Maybe these aren't the best characters that they've ever written, but this is definitely the most fleshed out and the most, the most ammunition they've ever had in their gun kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to finally get my hands on a copy of this game. So whether it's finally renting it or caving in and buying it.
you really should, because I can't believe how much I'm enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
The life sim aspect of the game is fantastic. It's a perfect fit and driving force to continue. I was trying to think about a different life sim game that I played, like Persona 3, and I had problems with Persona 3 because you were working on your own growth, but you were kind of a blank character. In this one, you're evocating your students' growth, and you get a great gameplay loop out of it, week to week. You set goals for your characters, and there's all these different things that you can do. Advice boxes and private lectures and extracurricular activities and stuff, and you're just growing your characters and making numbers get bigger and bigger, and then you showcase that in the battle system, and it's just a fantastic gameplay loop.
And tea parties. Don't forget tea parties.
I haven't unlocked tea parties yet, but I can't wait.
So, with the question that was asked us a couple of podcast episodes ago, would you say that this is a hit or a miss for you when it comes to how long you think you're going to be playing the game?
Totally a hit. I was blindsided by how much I liked this game, because to be honest, I was kind of I don't know if I'm going to like this game. Maybe I shouldn't get it, just because I was so on Awakening and Fates. But I did want to try it out, and there was something about me that was just nah, give it a shot. and I'm so glad I did. This is my favorite Fire Emblem game so far in terms of a good gameplay loop.
Very cool.
I mean, I think there are a lot of really good characters throughout Fire Emblem, and that's why I also want to get into the series more. But yeah, this is a good gameplay loop for sure.
I'm really excited to try it.
It's like crack. So now let's talk about another game that we both played a little bit of this week. It is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because the Dragon Quest hero has been released.
I actually had the theme song for like Dragon Quest queued up to hum along to, and it just evades me right now. I'm completely drawing a blank now.
That's
the one!
Yeah.
Yes!
It was written by a homophobic, racist war crime denier. Sorry to burst your bubble, but like the fun music of Dragon Quest is written by a huge POS. He's an awful human being. So what do you think about Hero? What are your impressions after you touched him a little?
Holding my hands up. I got nothing.
I'm so glad I said that.
Hero is definitely different. He's a very strange... I'm trying to figure out what category I want to put him in.
I know,
because
right?
just saying that he's a sword fighter, it does him a little bit of disservice.
Yeah, he's even less of a sword fighter than Link is, I think.
He is... I want to call him a glass cannon management character, which is very kind of strange, but it's the best way that I can kind of like describe him. Because having to manage all of his abilities, having to manage that MP is definitely unique. It definitely gives me some Robin from Fire Emblem vibes when I'm playing as him. Like, I have to keep in mind how many times did I attack, how much have I let it regenerate. It's a different element that I'm throwing into the game that has not really been there before.
But it's so much stronger than that.
Yeah, it's so much stronger than that. His down and B attack, though, is so bizarre. It's like bringing up the menu and then randomly selecting from one of these 4 abilities, which, honestly, I think they should have mapped that as his regular B1 instead of the charge up and the fireball attack. Reason being is because there are so many of his moves that pop up that are the different kind of elemental slashes, and you really need to press down and B, select the option that you want, and time it just right when the enemy is actually near you. It has to be very planned, but there's that glass cannon tactic of when it works, it really works, but when it doesn't, and you have a lot of moments where you kind of whiff with it, or at least when I was playing it, that's what I was kind of feeling.
Yeah. It's interesting too because as soon as you pull up that menu, you can't move.
Exactly. And you can't store it either. You can't like, hey, I want to get this move ready. I'm going to go and then try to get myself in a position. No, you have to be in that position and then make the move, but it's all random.
I wonder if they did try that out in development, but then that made him too much of an advantage. I
don't know. And I've seen people who have been playing it online. Like the Hatchet Man attack is, oh my god, that is broken.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's broken,
whacking people for days.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool attacks in there. And the Thwack attack is also... Thwack attack. This wasn't a podcast name. That's Thwack attack. So Thwack reminds me, just whiffing it all the time reminds me of Dragon Quest Heroes 2, when you got introduced to a character from, God, I think it was 8, and he tried to do Thwack on like a slime or something like that, and he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and like the camera got skewed every time he tried to say it, and like the text boxes were flying across the screen, like almost like breaking the fourth wall kind of thing.
Let's see, when I first downloaded him, I played a couple of just random Smash matches because I just wanted to get a handle of them.
Smatches, as they're called.
A couple of smatches. I did all of the Spirit Quest ones that were related with him, as him. And then I also went through classic mode, too. Classic mode is kind of weird, because some of the fights that it took me a minute to kind of realize what they were doing or why those fights were scheduled the way that they were. They make a lot of sense now. Like, the final one, it's actually a 2-part fight when you only think it's a 1-part fight.
Okay.
So, yeah. I'm not sure if I should spoil anything or not, so.
Have you played any Dragon Quest games before?
So, the only experience I really have with Dragon Quest is, I want to say Dragon Quest 11?
On PS4?
No, it's the one that they came out for the DS.
Which one? They came out with a bunch of them. 9 was the original one they came out with the DS.
Yeah, I think that was the one. It was the one where they introduced Street Pass before it was a thing.
On the DS or 3DS?
On the DS, because
that
it had an ability
9.
you can... Yeah, because it had the ability that you can put your game into wander mode, close your DS shell, walk around, and then if you pass somebody else who also had their game in wander mode, you downloaded like dungeons and things like that. It was
I remember
exactly
you did that at PAX, right?
Yes, and I got so many levels, and I was so happy for it.
And you never played them, did you?
No, I played a lot of them.
Okay.
I got more levels than I could actually play, because some of the levels that I downloaded, I had to be like max level 99 with a party of other level 99 people along with me. And back then, me and my friends would all get together, and we would play that. And then my buddy Dave decided to use a Game Shark and hack his character, and all the fun just kind of went away after that.
Way to go, Dave.
Yeah.
Typical Dave.
I just leveled up by grinding metal slimes for a long time. No, you didn't. Stop lying.
Oh, he lied about it too? Oh, that's the worst. Don't lie about your game habits, kids.
I mean, I've used a Game Shark before for like Pokemon, just because I wanted to get some of those like rare ones that you have to go to events for, but yeah.
You can just find them under trucks. Right next to the SSN.
Just make sure that you use strength on the truck.
So is the jury out on Dragon Quest Hero for you?
No,
Smash?
I mean, he seems like a really interesting character, and he's completely different than anything I have played in Smash, because there's a level of mastery that you have to obtain if you want to use him well, and you are going to enjoy playing as him. Smash Bros has so many pick up and play characters that it is very easy to kind of forget the complexity of the game itself. And I believe that the Dragon Quest Hero is a character that really showcases the benefits of the mastery that goes into that game.
Yeah, I feel, especially with this second character now, and this is only the second DLC character, that they're aiming these types of characters toward the hardcore player base of Smash Ultimate.
I would agree with that. And also, I've been noticing that a lot of these DLC characters that they've been creating, they are trying very much to add in new elements that they have not yet tried before.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with Joker, the static ability of going around countering all your moves and building up that extra gauge until your stand whatever, I forget what
Persona,
it is.
It's in the title, you goof.
Until your persona pops out. Like that's a unique feature that they also kind of changes the way that you would play a character like that. Yeah. Like there's no other character that does anything like that, where it's so focused on taking damage and also absorbing the damage like that.
It makes me wonder if they're going to be doing any kind of management like that with Banjo-Kazooie. I know it's a little too early to like start talking about them because we want to celebrate Hero, but with Banjo-Kazooie, is there going to be like some sort of like feather management, like the red feathers, the golden feathers, or is there going to be egg management, you know?
It could be. I honestly predict them kind of toning it back and going for a more traditional route with it, because Banjo is such a well-loved character. I don't think they want to make it too complicated for the people who are like, oh, hey, Banjo, I know that guy, I want to pick him.
I don't think so. Because with Banjo-Kazooie, like, that's an old property. It's not like it's gained new fans recently. You know what I mean?
I mean, true, but you could also say the same kind of. You can also say the same thing about like Donkey Kong. I mean, Donkey Kong really hasn't had a whole lot of games that have come out recently, but people still look at him and is like, "Oh, Donkey Kong, he's my favorite. I'm going to choose him," for somebody who's never picked up a Smash Bros. Game before.
I feel like people that pick up Smash games for the first time are always confused by the double jump then third jump mechanic. You know, they always are like, well, I just died. Why can't I? No, you have to do your third jump. Well, how do I do the third jump? Because it's not that it's unintuitive, but you know what I mean. We've all seen people do that.
Yeah.
So another thing that came out Smash Bros. Related is this really interesting Spirit Board Challenge Pack number 1. That is a DLC free for Nintendo Switch Online users. It's just basically like a bunch of SP and a bunch of support items that you can use in the game. I don't even think that anybody can download it if they're not a Nintendo Switch Online user. So that was kind of interesting that just kind of came out of nowhere. Nintendo has been saying that they want to increase the appeal of Nintendo Switch Online. They know that it's lacking. So I guess this kind of brings up the question of, should Nintendo do little things like this for their major games as a bonus to the online users?
I appreciate it. I appreciate the extra bit that they give, because it's less time that I have to grind to achieve those things or to try to go through it on the game. They don't necessarily break the game, they just kind of make it easier if you use that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's also optional. I don't know, something just seems weird about it to me. Like, I feel like, oh, hey, you have our online service, well, here's a little bonus in this game that you may or may not have.
Yeah, but I think that Smash Bros. Is a big, safe bet in terms of if you have it or not. It's one of the best-selling games on the Switch, and it's an online game.
Lowest common denominator. Most people who have a Switch, they probably have that game.
Most people who have online have Smash, and most people who have Smash have online.
Exactly. But I mean, I guess I have more of a problem with the fact that I'm being rewarded for having their service, and like that just seems weird to me for some reason.
Why? I mean, that's what you get with like PS Plus, right? You get rewarded a game.
But that's different. Like, that's something that's wrapped into the benefit of the PS Plus. Like, when you get PS Plus, you're like, okay, I'm getting all this internet service, but I'm also getting these free games to go along with it, and that kind of justifies the price of, you know, whatever, $60 a year or whatever it actually is.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
With the online service, though, they're not giving me a free game or anything. They're just saying, here, you can go ahead and have some free stuff. Like, it's a nice gesture, but I don't see the point in it.
Yeah, it's not going to be a selling point for anybody, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see if this is going to become like a precedent for all of their major games, where they're like, oh, okay, here's some extra items or whatever. For me, like, I don't think I would use it too much, because I don't really like those, like, you know, pre-order bonuses where suddenly you're super strong out of the gate and it just makes the game not fun. This particular thing, like you said, doesn't, you know, break the game or anything like that, but I don't know.
It is a practice that I don't see going over well or being managed well in the long run.
Yeah.
Because, and granted, I am not accusing Nintendo of this at all, but I feel like this is a very slippery slope to where we have gotten to the point with like pre-order bonuses and things like that.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't encourage them to do more things like that. I don't know. I don't want any predatory practices that exploit the user base. You roll your eyes right now. It is predatory, bro.
I feel like you're just using these words. I feel like they're just words.
I'm
that
using
you're,
them
like,
accurately, AF. Not like being those people on the internet who misuse the word censorship or something. That's one of the biggest ones. That's such a joke. Now, something else that Nintendo did do in regards to Nintendo Switch Online that was a little bit better than the last thing that we just talked about, I would say, is they're doing free trial versions of games. So Japan got Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Europe and North America got Mario Tennis Aces. These games are going to be free to play from August 7th to the 13th, and the game will also be 30% off in the eShop as well. And your progress from the trial version will carry over if you purchase the eShop version online. And it sounds like the trial version is also the full game as well too. It's not like a demo or something like that. So it's kind of interesting that they're doing this. And this is only for people who have purchased Nintendo Switch Online.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this?
Personally, I am not the target audience for this.
Yeah, me either.
Well, and I don't own Mario Tennis myself, and neither do I own Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. So I would benefit by giving both of these games a try. But with that being said, I've seen these kind of things done on other platforms. Sony, for example, has been doing this a lot where, hey, this game is free for the week if you want to play it, and then if you want to buy it, anything that you do this week. This is... What is... Oh, Jesus.
I'm going to leave that in.
What Nintendo is doing is not anything new from what we have seen. But I can say for a fact that when the other companies have been doing this kind of a practice, it has always landed at a very inopportune time for myself personally. Like, I've never been able to make full use or say, hey, I want to sit down, get my full free money's worth out of this game, and then have that be a deciding factor of if I'm going to buy a game or not. Like, I've never been in that mental state where I've been able to be influenced by such a decision. That being said, I also don't feel like this is objectively going to be a very strong selling point for Nintendo Service Online.
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, it is a glorified demo. And again, you have to be in the right place at the right time and have the right mindset to be able to make full utilization out of it.
For me, I'm a little bit more positive on this than you are. I think that it's nice, and I think it would be really cool if they rotated out the game per month on this. I don't see that happening at all. I think that that's too frequent for Nintendo to really do. I think it's nice, and also to give I wish it was a little bit deeper of a discount. 40% I think would be better, because you usually don't see Nintendo properties, published titles, going on sale very much, at least in North America or Japan. And in North America in particular, unless you go to the used market, you're not going to get something that's 40% or 30% off of MSRP. So I wish this was a little bit deeper discount, but I'm mostly positive on this. I just kind of wish, once again, Nintendo had just gone just a step further on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Good idea, but just a little further would be, I think, really good.
Honestly, I feel like I personally really wish that Nintendo would kind of follow along suit with what a lot of these other companies are doing and offer a free game once a month.
I don't like that from not the consumer standpoint, but from the developer standpoint, right? Because if you're getting a indie game, a high profile indie game, usually for free once per month, say, then you maybe are less incentivized to purchase a high profile indie game when it releases, because you'd be like, oh, well, I'll wait and see if that goes free on my Nintendo Switch Online thing. Because we see that all the time with PlayStation Plus.
That's very true.
I don't think that that's particularly beneficial for the developers. And I think that is part of the equation on why a lot of indies sell so well on the Switch versus the PS4. So I kind of wish they wouldn't do that, because then also if they did do that, then they'd bump up the price, right? I like the price being $20. I just wish that I was getting a little bit something extra. Honestly, even if they just focused on doing more retro games over, do Super Nintendo games, do 64 games. I understand them not doing GameCube games because that's where you can start remastering things using a lot of the same assets and stuff, and then it works. Like, look at Wind Waker that turned into the Wii U HD port. Like, you can't just take like the geometry of something like, say, Super Mario 64 and, you know, remaster it like that. It doesn't look good. You have to redo all of the polygons and sometimes some of the level design. And what are you laughing at?
I just thought of an HD remake of Mario 64 and they would just call it Mario 1080p.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Mario 1080. Oh.
Yeah.
You, sir, just landed yourself in the opening for this episode.
Nice. Will the Rusty Squirrel still have me? That's a big question.
You're the only member of that house. Nobody wants you.
That's the way I like it. Hey. And you know what? We were already seeing it on the Wii U. You know, give us Super Nintendo games. Give us Game Boy Advance games. I think it would even be possible to maybe do like DS games. Like if they came out. Okay, so hypothesis time. If they came out with a controller that came with a year subscription to Nintendo Service Online, sure, why not? But it was something that you would plug your Joy-Cons into that had a secondary touchscreen in it. And that allowed you to play DS games on the Switch.
That kind of periphery is so dumb. I feel like GameCube era Nintendo would have done that for sure. Also, let's not talk about it. I don't want it to actually happen. It sounds terrible.
Fair enough.
And then very briefly, lastly, because we said we would talk about it last week on the podcast, Nintendo and Tencent held a joint press conference at ChinaJoy, which is an electronic gaming convention in mainland China. They didn't really say much. Tencent said that they will provide cloud services and servers for China, which is an interesting aspect that I had not even considered. Big games like we assumed, like Mario and Zelda, are going to be released and have simplified Chinese tech support, and then users who use WeChat payment system can also make purchases on the eShop using that. That's kind of all we got out of the press conference. Not much to talk about there. I thought that they'd like already figured out their release date and everything like that, and I thought like, oh cool, this is going way faster than Nintendo anticipated, so good for them. This means that their stocks will go up or whatever, because investors just love hearing about it. But so far, no news further than that. But it is forward progression. I don't think that Nintendo would be holding something like this if things weren't moving along in a fairly smoothly manner.
Yeah.
And then we also got information just a couple of days earlier than that about Ubisoft. They are making a new Rabbids game for the Nintendo Switch, which could be a Chinese region exclusive. It takes a little bit of inspiration from the fabled Journey to the West, but hold on to your butts. Don't get too excited like I was when I heard about that, because I love Journey to the West. Because it's actually just a party game, I think. We have a trailer up on our YouTube, the Nintendo Everything YouTube, so do check that out. It's I don't care.
It's Rabbids. It's hard to get excited when they're not partnering up with Mario. So
I really do hope that they make a Mario Rabbids 2. That'd be fun.
Oh, that game is so much fun.
It is. It's really good. Oh, and this Jesus. This Ubisoft Rabbids game, it only has a Chinese title so far from what we know. So I'm going to tell you what that is right now, because I speak some Chinese. It's very rusty, but I do speak it. So Rabbids in Chinese, they call it Fengkuang Tuzi, which is like crazy bunnies. Chinese localization is always so fun to me because Chinese, I think, is one of the few major languages that very consistently translate proper nouns into an actual word in their language. So like, for example, Rabbids in Japanese, I don't know exactly how they say it, but it's just the Japanese pronunciation of Rabbids. So maybe it's Dabitsu or something like that. I don't know. But it's not like they don't call it something. In Chinese they call it crazy bunnies. And I really like that about Chinese. It's actually, I wonder if that's something to do with the government though, because it's so weird how they do mandates for even when you bring over foreign properties and how they have to be titled and stuff. It's crazy. But anyway, Rabbids, Fengkuang Tuzi. Then the subtitle is Qiyu Paidui, and that means like adventurous party. So figure that's probably not something that people have been talking about very much on the internet, and especially not pronouncing. So all of our lovely listeners get to hear what the title is in Chinese.
There you go.
Fengkuang Tuzi, Qiyu Paidui.
I'm still waiting for Mario and Rabbids too. Sorry.
But you don't think anything about this Journey to the West or nothing, huh?
It's...
You don't want to see a Rabbid Goku?
I'm not going to see a Rabbid Goku. No.
I play that game.
You'd play that game?
Yeah.
Rabbid Z.
Yeah. Rabbid Fighters.
That would probably just end up like each of their beam struggles are just them throwing plungers at each other, because that's like the weird sense of humor that the Rabbid games seem to have.
Oh yeah, where two plungers connect ever so perfectly that they create a little vacuum thing, and then they're just pulling them back and forth between each other. See,
yeah.
Okay, I don't hate Rabbids. I feel next to nothing for them, and then ever so often there's a little moment like that where I'm like, oh, that's funny, because everyone's physical humor, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They have the same kind of appeal to me that the Minions do from Despicable Me. I'm sure they could have a couple of entertaining jokes every now and again. They're just they do that one thing where it's oh, okay, that's kind of funny. But their general, I'm just going to be loud and annoying and just go for it style of humor, that is not me.
Right, I understand. And I mean, I've not paid attention to either Minions or Rabbids, so I don't have the deep disdain that so many people do have for them that I very much understand, but I just haven't been paying attention to them, so they're not in my psyche. I feel like maybe people who are younger than us have this stronger disdain for them just because probably their parents took them to those movies or something. By the time those movies were coming out, we weren't going to movies with our parents or anything. We were seeing what we wanted to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I missed the boat on that whole thing. Let's talk about some DLC.
Donkey Long Country.
Donkey Long Country. Yeah.
So Oni, what do you have for your additional DLC?
I don't know. Let me check the docket because I don't remember. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, wait, do you want to go first or what?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay, you go first. I was talking a bit more.
So this week I have a one-shot of an RPG based on Call of Cthulhu. This is actually done by the cast of Critical Role, and they decided to break away from their usual Dungeons and Dragons game to the game style of this Call of Cthulhu game. It was really entertaining watching it. It is quite long. It's about 4 hours long.
Holy crap.
Definitely put it on in the background when you are doing other stuff. But I found myself getting really invested into the story that Taliesin was actually creating. Taliesin was I think he called himself the keeper of arcane lore. He's basically the DM.
Is it though because you like the people in Critical Role, or was it the game itself being interesting?
A little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the people who play this game because they really kind of bring things to a new level with an understanding of characters and how they are written and how they interact. they were voice actors and, theater actors first, way before they did this. They just did this kind of thing, on the sidelines. Well, they're taking that appreciation and that respect for the art when they are playing this game because it's what they enjoy. It's what entertains them. But that's just Critical Role, like their cast as a whole. And they brought in members that weren't usually there, like Phil Lamar. Phil Lamar was just there rolling dice and playing around with him. So, what interested me was seeing them play a game that was not the mechanics of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Like, instead of rolling a d20, they would roll percentile dice for all the stuff that they were doing. But also hearing the story that Taliesin had put together and the way that he was able to create this air of a gothic horror in this like Edison-esque era was very, very entertaining and kind of inspiring because I'm writing my own campaign later in October that I'm going to be running with some friends of mine. So
an inspirational view.
Very much so. So highly entertaining. It just recently came out. Yeah, if you've got an afternoon to kill or need something to throw into the background, highly recommend it.
So for me, my additional DLC this week is a video on YouTube, a bit of an oldie. It's a good 4, maybe 5 years old now, but I came across it again and I forgot just how inspiring this video was as well. We both have inspiring content that we're offering to our listeners this week.
Aww.
This is called Granny Talk from the now defunct channel Grump Out, which was a side channel from the Game Grumps. I haven't listened to the Game Grumps in like probably 4 years, but one of the two guys, Dan Avedon, he is great, and he talks to his grandmother in this. It's just pretty much an hour long with very minimal editing, and his grandmother is 88 at the time of recording this, and she's like fully mentally aware and stuff. She's not, suffering from like dementia or anything, so he's just asking her all of these questions and asking her about stories, and she's retelling them like it was yesterday. And it's an incredible discussion. It's something that should honestly be on like PBS. It's a discussion that not only spans, their personal life, their familial history, but it touches on American social history, the Great Depression, the history of Jewish Americans, and then goes on to things like Watergate and Hitler and JFK, so much more. It's a fantastic celebration of, I think, elderly people and a lifetime of knowledge. So, I also loved watching it over again because my grandmother recently passed away, and she was my last grandparent that I had. And I mean, she was very old. She was, I think, the same age as this lady. So, my grandmother was 92 when she passed away. So lived a full life, that whole thing. And I never really got to sit down with her and talk about like a whole bunch of different things in her life and her family's life. I asked some questions when I was younger, but not a whole lot. So it's great to see somebody doing this with their grandparent, and I want to kind of encourage people to sit down with their elders and ask them lots of questions about their family and their history and just like their life. I think that that's something that a lot of people have that regret on, like, oh, I wish I had done that. That would have been kind of cool. Or, maybe feel strongly about. But anyway, just want to send out that positive vibe or whatever. And if I encourage one of our lovely listeners at all to maybe ask their grandparent or whomever a few questions, then I think I did a good change in the world. So just want to spread that.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Very cool.
Very nice. Oh, so neat.
Sugoi. Totemo sugoi. Let's go on to our most sugoi segment. Our listener mail. You could have just waited until I said anyway.
Listener mail. Listener mail.
There's too many. 3 is too many. If you would like to send us an email, Galen, stop it. If you would like to send us an email, you can send us that at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Send those emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And if you did, your email might sound something like this. Read it!
Is this email Jesus?
It's not Jesus, it's Jesus, yes.
Okay, I want to make sure. So, our first email is from Jesus.
I'm recently arisen, and I missed the last 2,000 give or take years of video gaming. Crazy person. Go on, read it.
He writes, "Hello, I'm a new listener, found you guys on Spotify, and I just wanted to say, love your guys' content. Very funny and entertaining. It gets me through the quietness of my office. Listening to keyboards tapping all day makes me lose my shit, lol."
Thank you very much, Jesus. I'm so glad that you found us on Spotify, and I'm so glad that we can get you through your workday, because I have to do so many different things too to get me through my work days, especially before when I was working in an office. Same exact situation, drove me crazy.
Absolutely.
What up, Jesus?
I'm in that position right now, so I can definitely sympathize with that, and I am glad to alleviate that boredom and that droning.
And I'm so sorry that you have to listen to my voice all the time. I should really speak more clearly and more kindly, like this.
I am very sorry you have to listen to Oni's voice.
Yeah, because usually Galen upsets me, and then that's when I lose my cool, and I start speaking like a crazy person. Blame it on Galen.
Yeah, pretty much. So, he continues on. Just wanted to ask a quick question on what advice you guys would give me so I can get into more games like Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. Never been a fan of those types of games, but I really want to get into them since I see how popular the games are. I guess what makes it difficult for me to motivate myself to try one is that the games look extremely difficult to play, and since there are so many of them, I'm not sure where to start. Any advice on how to begin or what games are similar to those that can persuade me to start playing them? Thank you very much for writing in, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus, and this is a great question.
Yes, absolutely. I actually have a suspicion that we have very similar bits of advice on this, so Oni, you take this one first.
All right, and then you can tell me if it's similar or not. So, first off, I just want to say the great thing about Final Fantasy is that they're typically not connected. There are very few games that are connected in the same world, but it kind of doesn't matter, and it's like maybe a tad of fan service in like the deep lore, like say with Final Fantasy, 12 and Tactics being set in Ivalice, but that doesn't even matter for their stories, honestly. The only Final Fantasies that are connected are very clearly connected. So like Final Fantasy X-2 is obviously a sequel to Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy 13-2 is, and so on and so forth. So I would say, just jump in on whatever one sounds cool to you or sounds good to you. I'm not sure what your aesthetic choices are, whether if you like pixel art or something more modern. I have been hearing a huge collection of mixed things about 15, so I haven't played it yet. I've got it, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't recommend that one. But I would say maybe something a little bit simpler, like maybe Final Fantasy VI. That also has really good character writing, but that's a Super Nintendo game, so it's a pixel game. So if you're okay with that aesthetic, for me, I love it, then I would recommend that that'd be a good jumping in game. Maybe Final Fantasy IV. That one's also going to be fairly simple, fairly not standard, but like solid JRPG stuff. But I actually wanted to say, when you were talking about what games are similar that can persuade you. It's getting late and I haven't had wine or anything to drink, so it's a little rough over here. But I'm doing it for you, Jesus. A great game. Galen, shut up. A great game for you to get into the JRPG genre is Bravely Default on the 3DS. Bravely Default fixes so many things that a lot of JRPGs have done in the last, maybe 10, 15 years. And there are so many different settings that you can do on Bravely Default where you increase, decrease the amount of experience and encounter rate. And it looks beautiful. It plays great. There's speed up mechanics. There's a fun battle system that is not super in depth. It's very simple to understand. And that would be honestly my biggest recommendation for somebody just getting into the genre. That's what was the gateway drug for my husband as well. As far as Kingdom Hearts, like, do not even, because that game or that series is just a shit show. I was hoping that 3 was going to clear things up. They had a great opportunity. Also,
Nope.
They didn't, apparently. I haven't played it, and I'm probably not going to play it, sadly, because I do like the ideas that were presented in Kingdom Hearts 1. I guess you could play Kingdom Hearts 1 and then just pretend that there's no other games in the series, because you're never going to get answers to anything. The total nonsense about Kingdom Hearts 3 is it is not the third game. There are
No, it's like the 5th.
No, it's like the 12th. Like, there are so many side games that are pivotal to the story. Like, even Kingdom Hearts 2 was not Kingdom Hearts 2. That was at least number 3.
Because, well, if you're counting, like, Chain of Memories and, like, Dream Drop Distance and...
Well, no.
Yeah.
Like, you have to count Chain of Memories, because after Chain of Memories, like, half of the 13th Order was dead. And that's where you started at the beginning.
We're talking about, like...
Yeah, it's a mess. And they just keep introducing more concepts. It's made by 2 freaking companies that are the worst at continuity, Squaresoft and Disney. As much as I want to recommend Kingdom Hearts, and as much as I, as a fan, honestly, want to love that game, Galen and I have a great history with Kingdom Hearts 2. I went out and visited him, and we took off classes so we could play that game when that game dropped. I have great memories with those games. Narrative-wise, they are a goddamn mess. They are never, ever going to be good. Ever. They have to, like, do a whole, like, X-Men thing and just, like, Scarlet Witch it all. So play the first game and pretend nothing else exists, and be satisfied in that you'll be dissatisfied forever. I don't even know. So Final Fantasy or Bravely Default?
Yeah. My advice actually is a little bit different, to be completely honest.
Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
So I agree with you on the statement about Final Fantasy and jumping into it.
Yeah.
Like, all the games are disconnected. You can go ahead and pick up any one that you want. What I would focus more on is take an objective look at what games you currently enjoy right now. Because the thing about the Final Fantasy games is that while they are all different story-wise, they are almost all different mechanic-wise as well. Playing Final Fantasy up to, like, Final Fantasy 9, I want to say, they are very similar in the fact that they are turn-based. You are going through and you're scrolling through menus, and you are doing the attacks like that. And if you enjoy that kind of a thing, that is the quote-unquote gameplay that you are going to be getting when you are in battles. That is where the difficulty is going to come into play, where you want to have quick decision-making, or sometimes how methodical do you want your moves to be when you are making them.
Yes.
After that, I feel like with 10, it became more based on quick thinking and almost reactions when you get to some of the later games. Like Final Fantasy 15, for me, I was very confused by it, because it became, okay, you hit this button and this is your attack button, but you can occasionally use magic if you want to. It became more like Kingdom Hearts, almost in a way, where it was more of an action RPG than a traditional turn-based one. So if you want to get into JRPGs, I would ask myself, what kind of a JRPG do you want to go into?
Yeah, that's good advice.
Kingdom Hearts, I'm not going to dismiss it outright like Oni did. I will say that if you do want to get into the series, definitely start from the beginning on that one. There are plenty of compilation games. Like, I know for the PS4, you can pick it up pretty cheap, where it's like the first 3 games that make sense.
They released, and they have the worst titles. Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Prologue 0.2, the story far. That's how screwed up it is. Before the big drop of the third one, they had to release all those dumb things. Don't even, man.
When you're looking into the series, go ahead and just go to shop online, look at the release date, and order it by that, and buy whichever one is the most recent. That will probably start you off on the right track if you want to. Kingdom Hearts is a huge thing to bite off.
But the problem is that none of it even makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
If it was if it was a big thing and it was like a philosophical thing where, there's more questions than answers and you could, make up your own answers or have your own discussions on things like, say, like Xenogears or something like that. I could be fine with that, but this is just introducing concepts for the sake of this will be cool, and then they never answer it, and then they move on to something else that they introduce, and it's just like, enough is enough.
You know what? It's 3 words that I said earlier in the podcast. Time travel. Like,
you already screwed up one of those 3 words.
On that note, though, if I was to recommend a game for you to try out, I would actually highly recommend Chrono Trigger.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah, if you are getting into a JRPG, if you're looking at the combat system, I feel like it's exciting enough that you can go ahead and stay invested in the battles that you are having, but the characters and the story are well written enough that you get invested into the story. There is a reason that game is as much of an acclaimed classic as it is. So, can you play Chrono Trigger on the Switch? I can't remember. I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, so you might need to, if you have like a 3DS or like a PSP, there are definitely ways you can play it on modern consoles.
It's also on phones too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I heard that one wasn't as good when it launched, but I think that they fixed I don't know. Square really screws up a lot of their phone. I think all of their phone releases. So
yeah,
I don't know. Look into those if you're thinking about making those purchases. But honestly, I would recommend. Sorry, I just cut you off on that, Galen. Sorry.
No,
I mean, I would recommend the DS version of Chrono Trigger, which plays on a 3DS. That is the best version for sure. But that is a great game with a cohesive, expansive story. Very memorable characters, great battle system that can be a turn-based waiting battle system, which means that you take as long as you like between attacks, or an active one where you have to like choose between menus real quick. It's totally up to you.
It's also incredibly in-depth too. Like the battle system is like the cross attacks and the...
I wouldn't call that in-depth.
No?
No.
I thought it was in-depth.
It's very basic, I would say, in a good way. It's very basic, and then like if your character knows attack A, and then your other character knows attack B, then they can do a new attack, and there's only so many of those that they can do, and it's so exciting watching those animations even now in pixel art. And if you don't know the story as well, wow, that's so great. I wish I could be you so you could play that game and experience that story for the first time. Chrono Trigger is a great place to start.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
So thank you very much for writing in, Jesus.
Thanks, Jesus.
And we'll be reading more emails of yours next week, and you can send us more emails because we need them. Send us emails.
Send us your favorite JRPGs to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
I will have a conversation with you all day on that topic at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. So what's coming up? What's coming out on Nintendo Everything? We have a Splatoon 2 developer interview that we'll be releasing. We also have a DC Universe Online full interview. It's a big one. I talk with 2 very important figureheads for this video game, coming to Nintendo Switch very soon. We also have some interesting information from Yacht Club Games regarding Shovel Knight that's going to be coming out sometime this week. Some information that has not been out there in the world. We're going to be debuting a little bit of spicy meatballs. All of that's going to be on our website, nintendoeverything.com. Stay connected to us using the Twitter @NinEverything. Also on our YouTube, where you can see the footage of that new Rabbids game, Fengkuang Tuzi, Qiyu Paidui. That's youtube.com/nineverything. And then you can stay connected to me, Oni Dino. The Twitter is @Oni_Dino, and my Instagram is @Oni__Dino. And then, of course, my YouTube that I recently started with my husband, where I'm playing Marvel Ultimate and a couple other games that we're going to be releasing later on this week. We upload videos like once a day. That's called Gayme Married on YouTube, Gayme Married. And then we also have a Twitter @Gayme Married. Galen,
Very cool.
how about all of the Ren Fair pics that you've been uploading and such? Where do
know-
people see these?
You know what? I was true to my word, and I actually uploaded a lot of Ren Fair pics to my Instagram, which is true_Mobius. And yeah, I had a blast there. I don't think I've actually told you about my time there, so
Don't want to hear it.
Yeah, definitely follow that if you want to see me throw axes against a wall and have the handle stick in instead of the head, because that happened, as well as all of the awesome stuff that I saw. Also follow me on Twitter at Mobius087. I don't know, I'll post pictures of amiibos and stuff. I got some new amiibos in lately.
He's been like dancing with them in front of me in the camera. Told you visual gags are not going to be working on this show. Damn it. He's always like, yeah, I know. And then he does it anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what you can do anyway, dear listeners? You can give us a rating on iTunes.
Oh, segue. Damn.
Yeah, Galen just saw me do it too.
Yeah. You actually do the dab too. You're just like,
Listen, when I was a young Gaybe, I was doing para, okay? So I got the hand movements.
para, yes.
So terrible. Worst time in my life.
God,
Sugoi.
I wish I could find that arcade game that I saw.
Oh
that
yeah,
one
Para
time.
Paradise.
Yeah, and you had the little hand sensors, and you had to do the actual hand things in front of that.
Yep, it was great. Dabbing is just an extension of your para cinematic universe.
Dab. What
Are you doing? Where is this going? Also, when you do it, it just kind of looks like you're trying to like pretend to smell your armpit. Like, oh God, I just smelled that smell. That's not me, is it? Oh, I was just gonna reach over here and then smell my armpit. That's what you look like.
My area of expertise is the floss, not the dab.
Oh, so you're churling and you're flossing? Is that your dance moves?
You know what? I've got
Mr.
two
White Man?
dance moves. It's the Oppa Gangnam style and the floss, okay? Don't take these away from me.
I feel like you could do a great Running Man. I feel like tall, big guys are very entertaining when they do Running Man. Maybe that's what you need to do on your Instagram. Master the running gram. The running gram. Oh God, it's late.
I am gonna master the running gram. Hell yeah.
Okay, do that. Put it up on your Instagram, the running gram. Do it, okay? And everybody also do the iTunes reviews, please. That helps us out so much. It's like the biggest thing you can do to help us and get us in front of new eyes. And we're trying to do a whole bunch of cool new things for you in the near future. I can't talk about them just yet, but do stay tuned in a couple of weeks because we're going to do real cool things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well put.
So please do the iTunes review because we're working real hard over here. It's really hot without the aircon on in my room, so it's genuinely a sweatshop over here. I'm working for you. Ugh. So be sure to tune in next... Wait, no, hold on. Not tune in. So be sure to join us next week. Thank you again for joining us this week, and stay tuned. What? Wait, what? What's the thing? What do we do? Hold on. No, for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
再见.
Dab.
再见.